I'm Mr. Howe, and I'm not at school today. Today for class, you're going to need the following stuff: a pencil, some manuscript paper, hopefully your substitute teacher has already passed it out, and your ears. I'm sure at this point you're all asking, Mr. Howe, what are we going to do today? Mr. Howe, what are we going to do today? I'm so glad you asked that question. Our objective today is to write an 8-measure example using basic principles of melody, harmony, and rhythm. How are we going to do it? We're going to use some ingredients. Melody, harmony, rhythm, and lyrics are optional. The first thing that we need to do is put together a toolbox of things we're going to use in writing this 8-measure example. Since we have 4 different ingredients, we need to lay out those ingredients for ourselves. So, take your manuscript paper, and right at the top you can write toolbox. Ooh, good. Let's start with melody. Today, for our purposes, we are going to pretend everything is in C. We're not going to use any black keys. On the piano, C's right here and right here. C is really easy to make sound good because you don't have to know any sharps or flats to make it work. So, to make our melody, we're going to have a couple rules. First rule is, for today's assignment, it has to start on C and it has to end on C. Okay? Now, in order to make that happen, we are going to write a treble clef. And if you haven't had much practice writing treble clefs, there's one. You can stop and practice for a minute writing a few treble clefs. Ooh, yeah. Just kind of start at the bottom and curve up and curl around, and it's done. So, you write a treble clef, if possible, and C is right here on this little line below, or up here, bass above. So, now in my toolbox, I have a couple things about melody. First of all, it's going to start on C, it's going to end on C, and we've written our 2 C's here that are closest to the treble clef. There's another one up here, and there are all sorts of C's, but stay within these for now. So, you've got your treble clef, you've got your C's, and the other thing we need to know about melody is it's easier to sing or to play if there's some scale-wise motion in it. And so, if you want a really simple, easy melody, you'll use the scale, just going straight up or straight down at some point. And that's okay, but it can get boring. So, what I'd like in your 8-measure example is you're going to have at least one measure of scale-wise motion. And at least one measure with skips. Do you have that down in your toolbox? What? You weren't writing. We'll review it one more time. In your toolbox, under the heading Melody, here's what you need. It starts on a C. It ends on a C. It has at least one measure of scale-wise motion and it has at least one measure with a lot of skips. We have our range here, goes from this middle C here to this high C here, and these are the possible notes you could use. That's the scale, so that's scale-wise motion, whether you go up or down that, and also you can skip from note to note pretty easily. Okie dokie. Next, we need harmony. So, melody, harmony. We have a few chords that we can choose from. Now, there are a very large number of chords that are available in the world. I'm going to limit your selections for today so that you are guaranteed to have an 8-measure example that sounds fairly decent. And of course, when you're writing your own music for your own pleasure, you don't have to worry about my rules here. But this is an example for this class. So, harmony, I'm going to ask you to limit yourself to the following chords. We have a C chord. That's hard to see. Sorry. C, E, and G. Okay, that's the C chord. We have the F chord. We have the G chord. And let's do A minor as well. And just for variety, let's add E minor as well. You'll notice that the bottom note of each one of these chords is the letter that I put under it. So the C major, F major, G major, A minor, and E minor chords are what I'd like you to use in this song. There are other chords, obviously, that are available. We're not going to use them today. So with these 5 chords, it's important that you know which lines and spaces you're on, right? So we have this treble clef, but we didn't review exactly what spaces and what lines are what, and that kind of makes it hard when you have to start and end on the certain note and use certain notes in your chords. So let's review that. If you have a treble clef here, and for you who sing in the bass clef, that's okay. You can learn treble clef for today. The spaces are really easy. They're F, A, C, E, face. For the lines, E, G, B, D, F. Please make sure that you have those written down. Face and E, G, B, D, F. Sometimes we'll say Elvis's guitar broke down Friday, or every good boy deserves fudge. I try to stay away from those good boy rhymes because they the one in the bass clef uses good boy too, and it just gets confusing. I try not to use any of those. But Elvis's guitar broke down Friday is pretty nice. Okay. Now below that, that's the lowest line, but that doesn't bring us down to the C that we wanted. So below the staff, this space is a D, and then this little line that we add, we call it a ledger line, and that's C. Wow. There it is.